Shalom, welcome to the Jewish View. My name is Rabbi Nachman Simon with the Chabad House of Delmar, and together with my co-host, Mark Ronich of Statewide News Service, jbiztechvalley.com, and now, as you can see, a columnist for the Jewish Press.
Yep, I have a column every month called Albany Beat, and I talk about how government relates to the Jewish community, or doesn't, as the case may be. And it's very enjoyable. I'm happy to be able to do that.
We got all kind of pink here,
That's right.
Mark.
Well,
what's with the pink?
I have to introduce our guests.
All right, there you go.
All the way at the end here in the purple is Darcy Czajka, who's with the American Cancer Society, the regional chapter, the outreach engagement coordinator, and you could tell your whole title. It'll be on the screen.
The whole
That's
stick.
And we also have a breast cancer survivor with us,
Yes.
Marcia Chaifetz from Clifton Park.
Yes.
And please welcome both to the Jewish View. It's such an honor to have you here. And we know that October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and pink is the color of the month. So I wore my pink yarmulke.
I got a pink lapel over here.
And I realized that I have a very limited pink wardrobe, so you get the pink yarmulke.
All right.
So anyway, welcome. And
Thank you for having us.
Darcy, let's start with you and tell us about the numerous types of cancers, what your organization is doing, how do you stay ahead of it? It's already, you fundraise money, it takes money and time, and it must be challenging for you.
Absolutely. Well, when we talk about cancer is actually thousands of diseases. And so the American Cancer Society has been committed for over 100 years to helping people prevent cancer, helping people through a cancer experience, funding research to cure cancer, and also advocating for the needs of those who are affected by cancer. And so the good news is cancer is a very different conversation than it was 20 or 30 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Many people are talking about it openly with their friends, with their family. In the public, we have a very open dialogue about cancer. It's not the stigma that it once was. So we've come a long way in that area. Also, many family and friends are rallying around loved ones. They're honoring them at some events like our walks, or just personally through different connections and community events. And then, another piece that I think is just really encouraging is that over the last 30 years, the research has made tremendous progress in terms of the treatments, the screenings that are available, the quality of those screenings. And so our survivorship rates from cancer are greatly improved than what they were.
And the other thing that I found out is that recently you can just target the certain cancer cells instead of radiating or impacting good cells. You don't have to harm more than what you just want to, more than what's already there that's really could be a killer. You don't have to spread it around to kill good cells. You can just kill the bad cells.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Well, there are so many different treatments and so many different types of machines and so technology has enabled that to happen.
Right.
And the researchers working hard to make that connection happen. So there's been tremendous progress in that.
Are the rates of cancer going down? I mean, I know that, you tell me, but I don't just know that cigarette smoking amongst people is down, so that would be, I figure, better results and less cancer.
Right. Well, overall, in their lifetime, men have a 1 in 2 chance of developing cancer, having a cancer diagnosis, and 1 in 3 women. So the truth is, this is still very much a reality, and we have a lot of work to do on, finding that out. As far as the rates is it increasing, is it decreasing? It's kind of stayed the same in some ways and increased in some ways, but the reality is we have better screenings that are detecting it. And so it's a complicated question in terms of the screening rates, but I think the overall piece is that, the risk is still there. We have much work to do there, but what's present more so than any time in the history of cancer is the hope that we have for the cures and the services. And
Yeah,
the
because the
treatments we have.
research, I mean,
Absolutely.
that, they're always saying they have, again, I don't know the numbers, but just so much money is given by US government, obviously donations too, and it's really having a good effect, you're saying.
Sure thing. So the federal government is by far the largest funder of cancer research. The second largest funder of cancer research is the American Cancer Society, and so we're very proud of that. But the
That's
federal
through
government,
charity.
it
That's
is
through charitable.
through our Relay for Life walks and our Making Strides Against Breast Cancer walks and other community events. In fact, some of that research is happening right here in New York State. In New York City, we have many grants in play. In the Capital Region, American Cancer Society is funding research at the University of Albany and at Rensselaer. So there is wonderful science happening even right in our backyard.
I want to bring in Marcia into the discussion here. And what was your experience? How did you come to know that you had it? And
I was diagnosed from a routine mammogram, my yearly mammogram, and I expected that I might get breast cancer because I lost my mother to it at some time in my life, but it was just a routine mammogram. I go every year, and they found what they called a troublesome spot, and luckily I had a wonderful surgeon who took the spot out, and
where did you
I'm here
have
today.
where did you have the surgery?
I had the surgery done by a doctor called Heider Gazoos. He was a surgeon at St. Peter's Hospital.
Uh-huh.
And then I went to New York Oncology, Hematology, and my radiologist was also a wonderful man, two wonderful doctors.
And what was your? Were you shocked when you heard
I
it, or
was,
you said you were
I was frightened.
frightened?
I was really frightened. I didn't know what to expect. I was teaching, and the fall semester was starting.
What were you teaching?
I taught for the State University of New York, the University Center for Academic and Workforce Development.
U Albany?
Yes.
Oh, at U Albany.
Yes,
Okay.
and it was sponsored through Hudson Valley Community
Yeah.
College, but it was a welfare to work program,
Uh-huh.
and I was getting my classroom ready and preparing and whatnot, and it took me back, and I was very frightened, and I was very frightened of how my treatment would interact with my teaching, but it came at a very unfortunate time for me because my husband and I were expecting our first grandchild, and I was also frightened that I wouldn't be able to be part of that.
Well, it's life has many different turns to it. How
Yes.
did your religion? You're Jewish and you're up in Clifton Park. How did religion impact on your faith? Impact on this?
Well, it was right around the time of the new year. It was
How many years ago?
57, 68.
Yeah.
It was 8 years ago. And, of course, we went to services. And I was sitting in Yisker services, and I was praying for people that have gone before me. And I started to think back on all the years that the Jewish people have gone through struggles, have had obstacles put in their way, but have overcome. And I think that as a Jew, I inherited a sort of a spirit of perseverance where I wasn't going to let this get in my way of leading my life the way I wanted to. And just thinking of how people have overcome so many obstacles, I decided I was going to do my best
But
to get
it's
through
important you say about your family. How did it affect your family? I mean, Mark's asking about yourself, but of course, it's your disease in your body, obviously. But obviously, there's loved ones all around you that obviously
Yes.
are also obviously very concerned with you.
Well, as cancer is definitely a family affair. My children were concerned. We were reassured that it would probably be eradicated with radiation treatment, whatnot, and then surgery. So I went forward and I taught every day, and after my teaching, I would go to NYOH and get my treatment. And my daughter was, my son and my best friend and confidant, my husband, were all a part of trying to bolster me and hold me up, and I was trying to hold them up. And
Because I know sometimes I counsel people as a rabbi, and so, it's amazing, but sometimes the family are more affected than the
Yes.
person themselves.
yes,
They're
yes.
more depressed about things, and the other person, like you say, you have confidence, and I'm going to beat it, I'm going to overcome this. The family is falling apart.
And the family feels
Yes.
helpless.
Well, I think too that in the back of their minds, there was always that doubt, but they put on a good front. But with my husband, I always could let my hair down, and he could let his hair down with me, and we could discuss. But with the children, we tried to keep it a little bit more
Now,
positive.
so let me just ask you gently.
Yes.
How old were you when this happened?
Oh boy.
I know.
Yeah,
Women,
Mark.
age with
How many
women, I
years?
know. I'm asking gently.
You could say my age is 29, so we can.
I always ask.
8
this.
years. Well, I'm 73 now,
Oh,
so 8
Do
years
arithmetic,
ago, I was
Mark, did you?
65.
I thought you were 53. Okay.
Oh, okay, that's very nice, thank you. But
But you overcame it. Bottom line, I mean, where are you today? So you're healthy. You look healthy.
thank you.
Yes.
I have had another surgery on my breast. It turned out to be nothing. It was in the fall.
Good.
And I get monitored all the time, and I just went for another gene testing, and that came out well. And I just do self-breast exams every month. And
I wanted to ask you, because I think I heard the mammograms are obviously a great device for screening, but are they cutting that out? I heard that through the insurance.
Well,
Is that?
mammograms are not being cut out right now. There is a lot of research going into mammograms and the effectiveness of them, rates of false positive, false negatives. But the screening guidelines for mammograms, I think it's currently annually for everyone 40 years up and 40 years and older should be getting an annual mammogram. But as I was sharing with Marcia earlier, I think the most important health message that everyone should embrace is see your doctor annually. Because as those screening guidelines change or as more is known, your doctor is going to be plugged into that information and be a great resource to help connect you to that information. We've been talking about families. I think that's another important factor in that annual visit with your doctor. It's knowing your family history, understanding, is there a history of cancer in your family? Do you know what types of cancers? And that is an important part of the process.
And since we're talking about breast cancer, I know there's a lot of other types of cancers, but I once did a news story about dense breast tissue. Can you talk about that a little bit and see how that impacts mammograms? Because you talk about false positives, and maybe that's something radiologists don't take into consideration when they read the mammogram. So.
Sure. So with breast density, that's something, again, that there's a lot of research currently going on with what impact does breast density have on your chances of getting cancer or ability to detect cancer. And so, the truth is we don't have a firm answer on where things are with breast density, but that's very much something that, again, researchers are looking into, and many different radiation centers are looking into to make sure that they have the latest technology in their testing, what impact that may have.
So people who are, let's say, not as well endowed can have dense breast tissue, and women who are well endowed don't necessarily have to have dense breast tissue.
Not a corollary or something.
Right, and therefore, I guess, you have to really specifically ask the radiologist or ask your doctor to ask the radiologist, do I have dense breast tissue? And is that why I'm getting a good report? Because they can't see past the tissue. So you don't want to just take a good report and say, oh, that's the end of the story. Oh,
Right.
Look into it further and make sure that, they're getting a real positive, response.
well,
What you described, Mark, I think is a good indication of how you can use that to empower your own healthcare as a data point.
Yeah.
asking about, do I have dense breast tissue and what that means, and using that to carry through with your different screenings and treatments.
You know, mammogram in itself has changed in the past 8 years. Now we're doing digital mammograms, and if there's a concern after the mammogram, they do a ultrasound on the breast.
You get a better picture. You know, you have this American Cancer Society official sponsor, a birthday, it's very beautiful. But I just see, and this is important because we're talking about, in a way, check out your doctor, but people just say, well, I don't even want to, go to even step one. I mean, they should go to their doctor, but how can they prevent it? That would be the question. I mean, obviously, there's no guarantees in life, like Mark was saying, no guarantees of anything, but on the other hand, would be improving a person's chances of not getting cancer.
There's a lot of things you can do. Marcia, did you want to comment on it first?
You go ahead. I know you have.
So I think one of the first and foremost things that anyone can do at any age is adopt a healthy lifestyle. So making good food choices, exercising regularly.
Well, food choices like fatting, because you always hear these constant, I mean, it's almost every year. This is no good for you. That's good for you.
And
I always say keep kosher and you're doing it
But
right.
even the kosher food, I mean, you have
There's a lot
stuffed
of
derma,
that, yes.
and stuffed derma may not be good for you, you know.
It's delicious.
It's delicious though, So what's delicious may not be good for you.
No.
I mean, does a person you feel that, for example, organic, I mean, I know that's a big issue now, 10% of people are organic. Would you say, I mean, are there scientific statistics? I mean, it sounds good, you don't put chemicals in it, but...
I don't have the evidence today on the organic versus not, and I know there's some regulation, questions with organic, but what we say is fruits, vegetables, everything in moderation. So if there are those treats that you do want to have on occasion, it's not about maybe completely eliminating that, but moderating.
See, I can have my kishka, Mark.
They can
hear
have
from the
kishka,
doctor
yes.
over here.
A small piece, is
All
there,
right,
you know.
all right.
But I'll tell you my personal story, my personal background is that my mother had breast cancer on her left side. Probably 20 years ago, she had a mastectomy, and then it came back again in the same site, even though there was no lymph nodes impacted, and that whatever lymph nodes they took out, as a precaution, it's still, it just ravages you, it just makes you so emotional when you hear about, this sort of thing. Then you have the, my father's side, my father had bladder cancer. Now, he was complaining from February of '04 about something going on, and the doctors couldn't detect anything, and he kept seeing a doctor. And then in October of '04, he finally went to a urologist who said, you have bladder cancer, but it's too late. When we couldn't diagnose it earlier, we didn't know that's what it was. So there are some cancers which really are too far gone before, when you finally know that it's happened, that you have it. And then when he was in the hospital, they found that it spread to his bones and bone marrow. And, he went for the radiation, he went for whatever treatments they weren't going to do a bone marrow transplant, but, they were going to do whatever they could to keep him comfortable. And then by January of '05, he had passed away. So it was 3 months it went quick, and it was 3 months, but it was a gut-wrenching 3 months. And, you just hear of people who, have pancreatic cancer, brain cancer, liver cancer. I mean, it's just amazing that how many organs now, really get impacted. And I remember, back in, not that I personally remember, but, 30s, 40s, 50s, you'd say, oh, he's, don't bother grandpa, he's not feeling well today. He's in his room. And they would never use the C word, but they would always use some euphemism. And they wouldn't want the family, like you were saying, to know, the children and all that. So it's just, don't bother him, So.
One thing Darcy and I were speaking of on the way over too is that smoking is a very bad it's really could be a real precursor to cancer. People are still smoking.
But the numbers are going down.
Yeah, but the e-cigarette numbers are going up with the youth,
Mm-hmm.
and that
They know that's bad for you? I mean,
terrible,
I don't know.
Yeah.
terrible
So
for
the
you.
e-cigarettes, again, there's the research is still being conducted on that, but the truth is they don't know what's in an e-cigarette. It's not consistent, it's not regulated,
No.
and so that's something that we're at the American Cancer Society advocating to add e-cigarettes into the Clean Indoor Air Act.
Let me ask you
like to
another thing
eliminate
even,
that.
but marijuana, which is getting to be legal in a few states, and I just saw a report that it's going up amongst the youth, and and everybody, maybe it's
What's
not so,
going up?
the usage of marijuana by young people.
Oh, yeah, but that doesn't mean it's bad for you, or it's going to cause cancer.
Doesn't
Well, I'm
mean
asking, that's what
Yeah.
doesn't
that's
mean
my
that
question. I mean, you're smoking,
Well,
Yeah,
I
but
don't
it
they
know.
doesn't
don't
have the
always-
nicotine.
they
it
don't
doesn't
always
have,
smoke it either. They put it in foods.
Right. Hash. Well, they
I've
got,
only heard.
that's right. Brownies.
Brownies,
that's
yeah.
right.
Now, at Hope Club, we have two things I wanted to get
Oh, yeah,
back to
please.
with you, Rabbi, is
About family.
about family. We have a friends and family group. If you have any congregants that are, going.
For our viewers, you have thousands of viewers on the Jewish
Yes,
View here.
absolutely. We have a friends and family group. We have
Mm-hmm.
many groups to help families. I wish that I had known this when I was going through it, when my family was going through it.
And where is this friends and family group? How do you get, how do you get to know
At
them?
Hope Club. At Hope Club, which is on One Penny Lane in Latham.
Okay.
We have many different types of groups too, and we have different types of cancer groups. We have prostate cancer, and it's not a it's prostate. We have blood cancer. We have a wellness group for people that are just diagnosed. We have a friends and family group. We have a recurrence group.
And
We were
it's
talking about recurrence.
And it's a lot of talking.
Blood cancer, all types.
So,
It is talking.
It's a lot of talking.
It's talking,
And I
and
think
it's-
that's tiring for people.
It's
They don't want to listen. They feel depressed already. They
Oh,
don't want to
but
listen to
it
other people's.
bolsters
It
people.
does, okay.
It's just the most wonderful thing.
I know that's why my mom never went to a class on any regular
It's
basis.
not a
because, well, I
class.
know, I use that word just. I shouldn't have used it with a teacher here. but a group setting, because she always felt, what do I have to hear other people's problems for? What do I have to hear what's going on with the... But I said, it's going to be helpful to you. And she
it
just didn't
truly
want to
is.
get through past that wall.
Cancer
Well, a
such as-
lot of people want to keep it private,
Yeah, it doesn't help that
No.
we keep it private, no?
It's, Hope Club is just a wonderful place.
Okay. So if you like the Beatles song, Penny Lane is, easy to remember, so One Penny Lane. Now, why did you choose Penny Lane for the American Cancer Society address?
So Penny Lane has a very special meaning to the capital region. Penny Lane is named after E. Stewart Jones' first wife, Penny,
Yes.
Oh.
who lost her battle
He's an
to
attorney.
ovarian cancer. And this is an appropriate month to be talking about that. Actually, September, among other cancers, is ovarian cancer awareness. And, I think that, that her connection to this community and the community with the in the fight against cancer, and E. Stewart Jones and his continued commitment is really exemplary. So we're really proud of that name and delighted to honor it.
Okay, so it's for that connection, not the Beatles song,
We'll
or not-
happily play the Beatles song.
and also not like March of Dimes, where
No.
where it's FDR is on the dime, and there's a connection. There's nothing with pennies that you
You're
contribute.
looking
or
for
something.
dollars, not pennies over here, Mark.
It
So-
was named for Penny.
Penny Jones.
yeah.
Penny Jones. Yeah. Well, did you either of you ever know Penny Jones? Or
No, I didn't
Okay.
know
Is there
her.
a picture of her in the lobby or anything?
We
or-
have a plaque.
A
with-
plaque,
Mm-hmm.
okay. So, and I didn't know that story, so that's very special. E. Stewart Jones being a prominent attorney in
Yes.
Troy, and all things Troy, it leads to E. Stewart Jones and the Jones family. So, what what other types of colors match with different cancers? I'm just curious.
So September is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month as well, and that color is gold.
Okay.
Ovarian cancer is like a teal color.
Yeah,
Like
it's
Marcia's
what I have
wearing.
on.
That's why you are.
No, it really
Yeah.
Just
wasn't.
happy to support it. Prostate cancer is a blue color, as is colorectal cancer. And actually September is Prostate Cancer Awareness Month as well.
Okay.
So there are a lot of colors for
Yeah, we'll
many
keep
different
going.
cancers.
Yeah, I'm just thinking.
Trying to think what else I can remember here. I think those are the ones I
Okay.
can.
Main ones.
Yes, yes.
And why do you do some walks and some runs, and what other variety of activities do you do for different cancers and that sort of thing?
So Relay for Life is our largest community event program where the communities themselves form committees and help to really plan the event experience around the community in which they're in. So for example, in the Capital Region, the greater Capital Region, we have over 20 different events, from Green Island to an Albany Colony event to Niskayuna, Columbia
Clifton
County,
Park,
Clifton
probably.
Park, there's an event there. And so the beauty of that is the communities shape the event. And it's a beautiful, the premise of Relay for Life is you walk the track for the duration of the event. Some are 6-hour events, some are 24-hour events.
Wow.
But walk the track to really signify that pursuit of a cure, that that need to continue to work and fight. And there's a couple of memorable pieces of our Relay for Life events. The first is our Survivor Lap. Every survivor that participates in a relay will get a purple T-shirt, and it's the kickoff event. Did you go to the Hope Club relay this year?
I wasn't able to. I had other plans,
Okay.
unfortunately.
And so it's a beautiful thing
But
to
you've been
watch
in
the
other years.
survivors.
Yes.
Other years.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
At our Hope Club Relay for Life event, we had 74 survivors walking around, and we all, the rest of us, cheer them on because it really is that beautiful moment. And for a newly diagnosed survivor to be standing next to someone like Marcia, who's been a survivor for 8 years, she's hope to them.
Yeah.
She is the reason that they can see a future 8 years away, or see a future 20
Yeah.
plus years away, like your
Right.
mom. And so, and then the other really inspiring piece of a Relay for Life is our Luminaria ceremony.
Yes.
When it gets to be dusk, we have little white bags that people will decorate either in honor of or in memory of someone, and we will place them around the track, and we have a moment of silence and just a beautiful tribute to those that have lost their lives to cancer, or those that are living through cancer.
But I also think another important point is just because there's so much publicity, including being on the Jewish View, but just aware that, get a checkup. I mean, just it sounds so simple in a way, but it's really, it's a much needed idea. People don't see the doctor. I've had people I haven't seen a doctor 5 years,
Oh,
and they're
no,
older
no.
people. And, I feel healthy. And I says, well, maybe you ought to, I'm not a doctor, I'm a rabbi, but people come to me for all kinds of things. But just that I'm saying the publicity gets people aware, that, hey, it's an issue out there and you better think about it and do
I
something
go to my
about it.
surgeon every 6 months for a breast exam, and then, of course, once a year I have the mammogram. And when I have a gynecological exam, I have a breast exam too. I cover all the bases.
Well, and one
Yeah,
of
it's
the
important.
important things, is to keep those annual visits as close to the date of that 1-year anniversary of your
Really?
last one. Oh, absolutely. Colorectal cancer is a big priority for the American Cancer Society. It's one of the most preventable cancers if we can catch it early with colonoscopies and other forms of colorectal cancer screenings. The difference between a precancerous polyp and removing that versus even an earlier stage cancer can really,
Be all the
be
difference.
devastating to a family.
Even a
and be all the
benign
difference.
tumor that you find, even if it's benign, it's still, you have to get it
It can be a
removed.
problem.
Could turn into a problem. Since I was in my late 30s, I was going for colorectal checkups and stuff. And, colonoscopies are, the worst part is the 24 hours before the
Yes,
event.
We were just discussing it coming
Well,
down.
it's much needed.
So it's,
that's-
but the event
you have to do
itself
what
is
you gotta
not,
do.
Yeah.
So, you just have to take care of your body and listen to the body and the symptoms, and, and don't put it off and say, oh, this is not an issue, you know. Now, you did have a case with Angelina Jolie where
Yes.
she, with
had the
being
gene.
hereditary, she just, boom, that's it. Take it off. I don't care. I don't want
That's
to
right.
deal with this. Can you explain that a little more, Darcy?
Do you want to comment to the
Oh.
genetic testing piece,
Well,
Marcia?
Okay.
Just
Tell me what her title is again, a
genetic counselor.
genetic counselor. I had the BRCA gene test years ago, and my daughter has now
Yeah.
3 young children.
Thank God.
Baruch Hashem.
Yeah.
So she was worried about, getting cancer, whatever. So we went together to MYOH to a genetic counselor. And my daughter had a panel test which checked through her whole body because there's a lot of colon cancer in the family, breast cancer, and she came out negative. And I had the BRCA gene test, which was negative, but now there's an additional test for breast and ovarian cancer, which is called the BART test. And I had that done, and that came out negative, so I was pleased. But I was speaking with my genetic counselor, and she said to me that 5% of cancers are inherited. 95% of cancers are just a cell that goes wild, almost by accident.
So you advocate genetic counseling for every person?
Well,
I never heard of that. That's why I'm asking you.
if you have a family member that has had cancer and there's a genetic test, absolutely take
All
it.
right, good.
I took it first for my daughter and my son because women with breast cancer can have sons that develop prostate cancer.
Really
So,
interesting.
it's important, very important, yes.
Mark, unfortunately, we're out of time because it really is, I think, very educational for myself and obviously for all our viewers. And the main thing is we should end off with a blessing that you're doing God's work of helping people that are sick, or, like I say, preventing people to even become sick. That would be
Yes.
the best thing in the world. And keep doing, but do it with good health.
Thank you.
Yeah, keep up the good work.
Thank you, and we'd love for you to join us at Hope Club
Yes.
Okay.
in Latham, or to join one of our Making Strides
I will
Against
do
Breast
that.
Cancer walks in October. Or
I will
whatever.
do that.
And encourage people to come to Hope Club because it's a
doing here.
wonderful
Okay.
place.